Get faster internet speeds for free when you get TV, internet, and phone. Ask for Trio from Rev.
Join the revolution.
Good evening, Bahamas. Coming up tonight.
Outraged union leaders band together to blast Tall Pines MP Leslie Miller over his recent comments regarding the Sandals matter. That story straight ahead.
One F&M senator says the government should have known what was happening at Sandals. That's coming up tonight on our news.
Why a former PLP chairman is applauding Alfred Sears for taking on Perry Christie in a leadership race. Plus, Olympian Pedra Seymour says the best is yet to come after finishing 6th in the 100-meter hurdles. Welcome to our news. I'm Christina McNeil. Thanks for joining us. Topping news tonight, union leaders are firing back at Tall Pines MP Leslie Miller, who had a few choice words for the Bahamas Hotel Maintenance and Allied Workers Union, which Miller said held a proverbial gun to the heads of Sandals executives. Well, the leader of the National Congress of Trade Unions didn't hold back today and used some colorful words of their own to describe Miller's comments. Simone Davis has the story.
Christina, after the Tall Pines MP expressed support for Sandals Resort and complete disregard for the union members say that they are frustrated with what they described as disrespectful comments made by the MP. Leaders of the Bahamas Electrical Workers Union and the Bahamas Hotel Catering and Allied Workers Union pulled no punches today, telling reporters they refuse to tolerate Miller's tasteless comments.
And what needs to happen is he got to realize that he gets the election next year. And trust me, the same people he coming to ask for votes are all union members. And I call it on all union members in this area, vote the jackass out. If a rooster running against him, vote for the rooster.
On Monday, Sandals made more than 600 Sandals workers redundant to carry out 8 weeks of repairs and renovations to the Cable Beach property. Miller told the Tribune he believes the redundancies were the result of a protest that occurred back in July when trucks were used to block portions of West Bay Street. He had a few colorful words for those union leaders who are not pleased with how Sandals does business. Well, BEWU President Paul Maynard said he and other union leaders were asked to get involved, adding this situation could have been avoided.
We tried, all right, and I ain't even gonna comment on it, but we tried, and it just reached a point that it shouldn't have never arrived at. All right, the president of the union got to, as president, make sure that the company stays open so his employees are employed. Simple.
Meantime, Hotel Union President Nicole Martin said there is no justification for mass redundancies due to renovations.
I believe that the government should, probably send a cease and desist to Mr. Sandals and let them understand 600 workers is by minimum 1,800 people affected, minimum. Each person employed represent more than just themselves.
Martin also had this message for the Tall Pines MP.
Mr. Politician, you cannot minister to a hungry man. You cannot campaign to a hungry man. So if you say I must carry my angled side, then you, Mr. Parliamentarian, want to be future parliamentarian. If I must carry mine, when you come to my door, I see no reason for you to leave yours there.
Union members also called for some type of amendment to be made to the Employment Act. Reporting for our news, I'm Simone Davis. Back to you in the studio.
Thanks, Simone. Meantime, one Free National Movement senator has asserted there is no way the government could have been kept in the dark on Sandals' plans to make over 600 workers redundant. Giorgio Sturp reports.
Given the growing tension between Sandals and the union representing its workers and the arraignment of 2 Sandals officials on allegations of union-busting tactics, Dr. Dwayne Sands says the government should have seen the writing on the wall. The F&M senator says he is convinced that the government had to know about the resort's decision to shut down for several weeks and send hundreds of workers home.
2 words, child please. Seriously? This is an example of a government running for cover. Because even if he claims he didn't know, he ought to have known. Because you had several of the managers of Sandals before the courts related to this matter. You had the union saying that they had taken a decision to have a strike vote. There was no industrial agreement. And so I think our heart should go out to those workers and their families at Sandals who have suffered because of an uncaring, distracted government.
Minister of Labor Shane Gibson says his ministry was kept in the dark about this matter because he feels the resort did not want to discuss ways to save jobs for over 600 workers. However, Sands isn't buying it.
And the fact is that, quite frankly, the minister and the Ministry of Labor and the Department of Labor has basically been asleep at the wheel.
Sands says the only question that remains is, who's next?
The fact that the Honorable Minister can now express outrage that, this is a terrible company and that they're attempting to do something without contacting the government. Well, shouldn't the government have been trying to manage this problem a little bit better? So now, what do we have? We have 2,300 people from Baha that are unemployed. We got 600 people from Sandals that are unemployed. Who's next?
Reporting for our news, I'm Giorgio Sturrup.
Thanks, Giorgio. Well, as Prime Minister Perry Christie prepares to face off with Fort Charlotte candidate Alfred Sears in a highly anticipated leadership battle this November, former PLP Chairman Raynard Rigby suggests he is supporting Sears, whom he says would make a great Prime Minister. Dana Smith joins us in studio with the story. Dana?
Christina, when we asked Rigby about the upcoming PLP convention and the Prime Minister's bid for yet another term in office, he asserted the country is ready for a shift in leadership and an end to the king-like worship of its leaders.
Rigby's comments come as the PLP gets ready for its upcoming convention in November. Christie has already confirmed he is seeking re-election as PLP leader. When asked if he feels Christie should retire, Rigby said this.
I think the country is ready for a shift in leadership, in a new shift in how we govern the country, in moving the country towards a participatory democracy, this sort of king-like worship of our political leaders. I think the country is beyond that.
PLP Fort Charlotte candidate and former Attorney General Alfred Sears announced last week he will run for leader at the PLP's convention. Rigby today dubbed Sears an excellent candidate, asserting Sears' decision to put his name forward is a good move for the party.
He would certainly make a very good prime minister in a PLP government. He's an intellectual. He is grounded in a sense of our democracy which is transparent, which is accountable, which is embracing and engaging in dialogue on a constant basis. I've known Alfred for more than 20 years, and I certainly support his move.
Christie has said he's staying on to lead the PLP because many young people in his government have asked him to. Deputy House Speaker Dion Smith said yesterday, although Christie has made some mistakes and some unpopular decisions, he is among the new generation of leaders who wants Christie to stay. Rigby suggested he doesn't share that view.
We are a party that should focus more on allowing there to be room for dissent and disagreement on ideas, and I think that we will have lots of dissent and disagreement of ideas on the question of future leadership, whether it's today or whether it's in 5 years or 10 years' time. And by him sharing his view, he's lending to the debate that will happen in the party between now and November. And it's going to be a healthy debate. It's not going to be destructive.
Rigby said ultimately the party's delegates have to be trusted to make the best decision as to who they believe is best suited to lead the party. And he thinks they're going to have a very good choice with Alfred Sears putting his name forward.
And as for whether he's considering running for a leadership post at the PLP convention, Rigby said that's a matter that's still being seriously considered and contemplated. Back to you, Christina.
Thanks, Dana. It should be a pretty interesting leadership race. Well, despite claims that some senior PLPs that Prime Minister Christie cannot be defeated in the PLP leadership race, former PLP MP George Smith insisted today it's not an impossible feat. Jasmine Brown reports.
While some have insisted Christie cannot be beaten in a leadership race, Smith says that's not necessarily true.
Anything is possible in politics.
Christie has been challenged 3 times for the leadership post. Smith says at this point he is not choosing sides.
It isn't important that people know who my personal choice is. I want a debate. I want discussion about the issues. Who's best able to deal with those issues? Who's best able to form a government that will address those issues in the interest of the Bahamian people?
But the former cabinet minister did say he believes both Christie and Sears have huge cases to make to party delegates. He adds that the prime minister must make an even bigger appeal to the country, considering those undelivered campaign promises like NHI, mortgage relief, and Bahamar.
So he ought to lay out and confiding in the Bahamian people why he would wish to stay as leader of the party and prime minister of the country. And then the delegates will assess those things, and the delegates will determine that, okay, maybe we would wish to continue to support him so that he could complete these things and some other challenges that the present government faces.
The PLP convention is slated for this November. Smith says he expects the convention will be an exciting one. Reporting for our News, I'm Jasmine Brown.
Thanks, Jasmine. Still to come on our News, a look at Pedro Seymour's impressive performance in the 100-meter hurdles, and a union speaks out on issues with a telecommunications giant. That's coming up when our News returns.